Hello, hello. I'm running a little bit late. Sorry, everybody. Welcome to your Holiday Thrive Guide. We're doing a talk all about it, a holiday edition. And my guest, Taisha Presley, is on, so I'm going to wait for Taisha to request. Oh, here she is. So we're going to come on. And everybody, my name is Cynthia Adjman, and all about it, live, prime time live, I call it. We are talking today all about.
Hi!
How
How
are
are
you?
you? How are you? Happy. What is today? You know what?
Today
We are
is
getting to the
Thursday.
part of the year where I have no idea what day it is. I'm like, I count back like today is Wednesday, tomorrow is Thursday. Yes.
Yeah,
So we are in that
today is
time and that
Thursday.
season for me. Today is Thursday. Happy Thursday.
I'm always excited for Thursday because Friday is a good day.
Friday is
Right?
always a good day, right? I
Yeah.
see everybody coming in. Hi, my Facebook friends, my
Hi, ladies.
Instagram friends. You know how with your business, you start to develop like business people that you kind of frequent their page, and you
Yeah.
see them coming on. Hi,
Hi.
everyone.
So I had to tell everybody, like, Taisha is like my, she was my get, right? Like, if you have a get guest, right? I feel like you were mine, and so I'm so grateful for to you for doing this with me today. I
Yeah.
really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for the
Yeah,
invitation. Thank you so much.
for
I'm
sure.
looking forward to this conversation. I just like girl talk. That's
I
just I just like girl talk. Just put me in the room with some girls and let's just
and
chat,
let's
okay?
let's go at it. So today we're
Yeah.
talking all about your holiday thrive guide, right? Not the survival guide. We want you to thrive during the holiday. So Taisha, introduce yourself, and then we can
So
get started.
Yeah, so I'm Taisha Presley. I am from Charlotte, North Carolina. I go by Ty, by the way.
Hi. Okay.
And so I own a private practice in Charlotte, and I work with people that have experienced some type of dysfunctional upbringing. And so that's what we're here to talk about, right? Dysfunction, which is pretty much everybody
Yeah, we all have
on
it.
some level, have experienced some type of dysfunction. And so I work with the people that have experienced the dysfunction and see that it's blocking the life that they want to lead now,
Yeah.
and they want to what they call rehabilitate, what I call rehabilitate lives. They want to
Yeah.
rehabilitate their lives. So that's what I
So
love to do.
everybody can find you at
At, re-
Rehabilitate Your Life.
at Rehabilitate Your Life, or my website is rehabilitateyourlife.com.
Yeah. And I was just gonna say, like, you have so many different nuggets and resources. I know there you have the body book, right? So you can definitely talk about that. I see that in the back there.
Yes, this is my memorial book. This is not the actual book, but I
Okay.
created a journal, a mind body journal, to help people to embrace the body. We just had babies, right? That's something that we share in common. We just
Yeah.
had babies, and post baby body, it is like whack. Like your body changes so much, and you like
Yeah.
as you just go through life, your body changes so much. So just learning how to embrace the body that you have now is what this journal is about. And then I also released, it's in pre-order status right now, that I absolutely love this companion. It's for people that, somebody just keeps calling me, someone that has wanting to go to counseling, afraid of the counseling experience, doesn't know
Mhm.
how to organize it. It's just a companion to help them to kind of navigate their therapy space.
Oh, I love that. That's so good.
Yeah, I'm excited
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
No, because sometimes you need that, right? Like that could be a helpful way to progress through your therapy journey. I like that a lot.
Absolutely. It's like a
Yeah.
companion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's kind of just get into it, right? So one of the things that I wanted us to maybe start off with is how anxiety and depression can show up during the holidays in different ways, right? And so I thought for you and your in your own experience or with clients, like how do you see anxiety and depression kind of showing up? Not in the way that it normally shows up, right? But I feel like with just the holidays, the gatherings, the family, the commercialization, the money, there's all these
Yeah.
things that can create a lot of anxiety and depression. What do you like
Yeah.
about
And
it?
so, yeah. And so, it's so what I'm experiencing with my clients is like on a like I do a lot of body therapy, like
Mhm.
you being able to notice your body and pay attention to your body.
Yeah.
And what I'm noticing is that my clients start to, even before the holidays like kick off,
Yeah.
their body starts to send them signals like it's that time of the year, right?
Yeah.
They begin to start to dissociate from people. They begin to feel sadness. Sometimes anger is
Mhm.
a big sign of anxiety, trying to control. So what I find is that for a lot of people that, and I was talking about this with someone about this last night, just about how anger sometimes represents you not being able to control something and feeling so frustrated and so overwhelmed
Yeah.
about it. And then you just start to lash out, right? And so
Mhm.
sometimes that starts to happen around the holiday season. And you don't know why, nothing in particular prompted it,
Yeah.
but it's just present in your body. And you begin to notice, you don't notice necessarily the thoughts, you begin to notice how you're responding to people.
Yeah.
Is that something that you find too with your clients?
I definitely think so, right? So a lot of like irritability, right? Just kind of coming out of nowhere. A lot of maybe like a lot of self-doubt, negative thinking about different things. And
Second
just also
guessing
like sometimes,
yourself.
yeah, sometimes even dreams, right? Like, because you know how like our what we're going through in our regular lives can manifest in dreams, right? So you start
Hmm.
having like these really strange dreams. You're like, well, I don't know what's going on, but you're stressed out or there's something
Yeah,
going on.
yeah,
And or you might have unresolved things that are coming up from childhood related to family, right? Because you're about to see family and different things like that. So yeah, definitely I feel like things start
yeah,
coming up in lots of strange ways, but when
yeah,
you start thinking about it, when you start tapping into it, there's something there, right?
yeah. Just like that restlessness and that difficulty sleeping, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
definitely.
not wanting, not, you sometimes even start to kind of perseverate about certain conversations. Like, how am I going to have this conversation? What if
Yeah,
they ask me about this? You start to kind of pre-plan about how things are going to go. And
yeah,
that's because the anxiety is starting to kick up. And that can
exactly.
already send you into depression in itself, just thinking
Yeah.
about where your life is in comparison to where other people, where you perceive other people's lives to be. That
Mm-hmm.
is sometimes what my clients are saying is very depressing.
Yeah. Or like I like what you said too about the learning to tune into your body and what's happening in your body, right? So you've heard of like especially older people who start getting symptoms like stomach aches or body aches or just random my leg is aching, right? So like kind of
Like randomly.
yeah,
Yeah.
randomly, but it's
I
not
got
really
this twitch
random.
in the middle of my eye. It's, yeah, like what is that about? Yeah.
Right, your eye starts twitching a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, what so going back to the control piece, right, with the not having some control, and so it kind of manifests maybe in anger and other symptoms. How would you encourage somebody or talk to somebody about how can I get some control over the holidays, over whatever it is that I'm worried about around the holiday, right? If it's money, if it's family, if it's balancing socializing activities and different things like that, how can someone get control over the holidays?
Yeah, well, I hate to break it to you, but that we are all very limited in what we actually do control,
Yeah.
right? Like a lot of us want to control people, we
Mm-hmm.
want to control situations, we want to control outcomes, and that we just can't. We just can't. We just can't. And we wish we did it. Wouldn't
What do
life
you
be
mean we
so
can't?
right? Wouldn't it be amazing? It would be so amazing if
Yeah.
we really could, even if we communicated our boundaries to people, if they would just automatically just listen to us and
Yeah.
change, that would be amazing, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
think one of the things that we have to really begin to recognize and really radically accept is the fact that we are not in control. We don't have control. Control is something that is like a smokescreen. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we get to manage our experience to life.
Yeah.
We get to manage our experience to people. We don't get to control people.
Yeah.
And I think that we can enjoy life more if we kind of take a hold to that mindset that people are allowed to do them, so to speak. They are
Mm-hmm.
allowed, like even and go. I was on my run this morning, and I was thinking about our conversation today. Not really. I was just thinking And one of the thoughts that came to my mind is the fact that, you know what? We always tell people to communicate your boundaries, which are amazing. And I think that sometimes people communicate their boundaries with the hope of changing people or
Yeah.
manipulating people, right?
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily what a boundary is for.
Mm-hmm.
A boundary is to help you
Mm-hmm.
honor yourself, your
Mm.
needs, your desires, your wishes, your wants. That doesn't mean the other person is going to do anything about the boundary that you express. Okay. So you have to give them the freedom to say no to you,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
even if it is inconvenient to you.
Yeah.
And that means letting go of that control word,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so being able to accept that we have limited control, being able to accept that we get to honor ourselves with our words, but that doesn't mean that we're going to change another person, is
Mm.
the one of the ways that you can learn to let go of control or
Yeah.
embrace that whole idea of control.
I think that's so important, right? Because there is a misconception out there about what boundaries is,
Hmm.
are, and
Hmm.
how it changes relationships, right? But
Yeah,
again, like I love that you said that boundaries is about you
it's about
and
you.
not about the
It's
other
about you.
person,
It's not
right?
about the other
That's
person.
such a good
Absolutely.
reminder.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we tend to get frustrated because you're like, but I'm using my words like you're telling me to use my words,
Yeah.
but then you're using your words to try to manipulate someone. This is not about manipulation.
Yeah.
And what I find too is that especially during the holiday season, we sometimes get really frustrated with people that are
Mm-hmm.
on their own journey
Yeah.
because other people's journeys are not convenient to us. Let's just admit that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like sometimes other people's journeys can be very slow, less intense. They don't change as fast as we need them to change. They may not
Sometimes
come
they're
into
not
the
on a
awareness.
journey, right? Sometimes
Sometimes they
they're
don't want to
not.
be on a journey. Like they're like, forget your journey.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to manage that space with them. Like our job is to hold space with people and connect with them and to love them. And
Yeah.
sometimes loving them means allowing them to be where they are,
Mm-hmm.
even when it doesn't fit with where you are,
Yeah.
especially in the holiday season,
Yeah.
because you're like going to be totally immersed in these people sometimes that don't want to change, don't want to, and this is what the frustrating part, right? Don't even want to own up to their part
Mm.
as you see it.
Yeah.
As you see it, but you have to also remember is that everyone has an experience. Their experience may not be your experience, and
Exactly.
that's okay. That's okay. We have
Mm-hmm.
to allow people to be where they are, to have their experiences, and to honor themselves as well.
Yeah.
And
And
to
that's
honor themselves as well.
there's almost like there's freedom that comes with that when you can let
Absolutely.
people be themselves and you be
Absolutely.
yourself, right?
Absolutely.
There's just such like nice calming energy
Yeah,
around that, if you can say it like that way.
it is. But isn't it hard? It's
So hard.
hard.
So
Because
hard.
we're like, no, but you got to do this. Don't you
Yeah.
see it my way? Don't you
Yeah.
want what I see in my mind?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, no,
Yeah.
I don't.
Especially, I feel like when you come from a family that there are no boundaries, right?
Yeah,
Or everybody's in everybody's business and everybody has something to say about something. And so
yeah,
when you're doing your own individual work and you go into these situations, it's so much more important for you to remember, right? The work I'm doing is about me. It's not about my family. It's not about, this person, that person. And so you have to be very mindful going into family dynamics that you're not there to change anybody. You're not there to make this family situation a happy, great one, right? That you're going
yeah,
to remember for the ages. But
yeah,
you're just there to celebrate
yeah.
family, to spend time, and then you're gone.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And let's kind of check that too, because sometimes we have these kind of fantasies about families
Yeah.
that, we sometimes get
The
from the
holiday
movies.
movies do not help either.
They don't help. They do not help. Listen, the Cosbys did not help me growing up because
I
I
could have
love the
a whole
Cosbys.
therapy session about that, right?
I
Like,
love
come
the
on.
Cosbys, but the Cosbys were not my family, okay? They were not my family.
Oh my
We were
gosh.
not having these. funny, warm conversations, doing these creative exercises that taught you a lesson. That's just not
Right.
how it went down in my family,
Not
okay?
at all.
And
Yep.
so, but it did create these fantasies in my mind about what family should
Mhm.
be,
Yeah.
how mothers should be, how family members, how the roles should look. And when
Hmm.
I saw that my family wasn't like that,
Yeah.
it disturbed me so much because I'm like,
Hmm.
but you're not like Bill.
There's a sadness that comes, right? Like a grieving process
It,
almost.
it
Yeah.
is a grieving process. And a lot of times with my clients, we literally have to grieve the loss of a family system that wasn't even the reality
Yeah.
of their experience.
And that comes up during the holidays, right? Like that
So
grieving
much.
that has it has to possibly happen every year for some people, right? Because
Absolutely.
that idea that you had, that image that you had, if it doesn't come
Absolutely.
to fruition, there's going to be
Absolutely.
that constant loss every
Absolutely.
single year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it does become about, well, where did I get this from? And is it even realistic?
Yeah.
Because sometimes the Cosbys really don't exist for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And it's okay for your family to be how it is.
Yeah.
And and for us to accept how people are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
That
also
need to
create the boundaries that we need
the control again, right? Letting
to
go of
control
that need to control the narrative a
it.
certain way. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, the Cosbys and their dinner tables and the dances.
Wouldn't it be nice? But you know what I love? But it also gives me hope too, Cynthia, because, as we develop our own families, we
Mm-hmm.
get to create the
Yeah.
family structure that we desire,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so you can reflect on and assess what your experience was, and you can even reflect on the fantasies that you had.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can ask yourself and your partner, your family, you guys can have, I'm all about some family meetings, okay? You
Mm-hmm.
guys can have a family meeting and you can
Yeah.
say, hey, this is what I love to create, or you can just be it
Yeah.
and create it. And
Yeah.
I also find that sometimes that creating it can be hard when you've never experienced it.
Yeah.
And so it's important that you expose yourself to other family environments too, so
Mm-hmm.
that you can know how other people, other family types operate. I
Yeah.
think that's sometimes really helpful as well.
Yeah. And I think, we're not, poo-pooing anybody that has these ideas, right? Because I feel like when you don't have your own experience, it is helpful, like you said,
Yeah,
right? To take from different places because that's how you learn. That's how you figure
that's
out
how
what
you learn.
fits, what doesn't fit. And
Hmm.
so thriving during the holidays is definitely about like figuring out what works for you, right? What works for
Absolutely.
your family, what works for you as an individual, because in the long run you want it to be it's supposed to be a joyous happy time mostly, right? That's the whole idea.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't. Thanksgiving is Thursday. It's just a
It's just another
Thursday.
Thursday.
It is just another
Yeah.
Thursday
And most people
that
have to
we
go
have,
right back to work the next
and we go back
day,
to work
right?
most days.
Yeah.
But we have that when you talked about the commercialization of certain holidays,
Yeah.
and I think that is important to think about too, because we make this big deal about this holiday that really is just a Thursday,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And so does it have to be joyous? That would be great. Does it
Yeah.
have to be, everything that we kind of associate traditionally with
Hmm.
Thanksgiving? That would be great.
Yeah.
But if it isn't, that's the
That's okay.
reality.
That's
It's
okay.
okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that part of it adds to the depression that people feel because depression numbers go up around the holidays.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because people feel like left out, they don't have family, they're afraid to reach out to other networks, they're
Hmm.
afraid to create what actually works for them. Like, me and my family, we started traveling around the holidays and it's been amazing. It's
Yeah.
been amazing. So you don't have to celebrate in a way that is traditional on a day that is just a day that is just Thursday.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to subscribe. You can opt out at any
Yeah.
time.
And thank you so much for saying that, right? Because I feel like there is an expectation that you have to celebrate all the different holidays. But you're right
Yeah.
that it's a personal choice at the end of the day, right? To decide how you want to use a holiday.
Absolutely.
right? And so
Absolutely.
that's a powerful reminder.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
if that means that you feel best, what works best for you is volunteering, you can always volunteer. You know,
yeah,
I volunteered on the holidays before, and that was very meaningful for me. But
right.
you get to create the new traditions,
Yeah,
especially if you come from a dysfunctional family, because you guys may not have had those normal traditions. You get to create the traditions that work for you
yeah,
now.
yeah,
Now, but that requires you to tune into your body to see what your body is asking for, what you need
exactly,
so that
exactly.
you can know what you need to create.
Yeah. And earlier you had talked about like honoring yourself, right? By setting
Yeah,
those boundaries. It's so, so important, right?
yeah,
You get to choose those for
yeah,
yourself. You don't have to do it
absolutely.
because that's the way it's always been done, or that's the expectation, or that's what I have to do or should
Yeah,
do,
yeah.
right? There's definitely an ownership that you can choose for sure.
Hi, Alicia. That's my girl.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Hello. The educated artist is on here. Talk with
yeah,
truth.
yeah.
Come on in.
I
If
think
anybody
that
has
is,
any questions about how to thrive in the holidays, things that come up for you, please ask it in the comment section.
yeah.
And we'll be happy to answer that.
I I love what you just talked about in terms of like kind of following the lead of what happened before. Like we
Mm,
have these elders, right, that always did it their way, and we're kind of afraid to break rank, so to speak.
yeah,
And so we tend to just go along to kind of not say anything, to not,
yeah,
bring attention to ourselves. But I think that sometimes um, it's difficult, but sometimes they kind of like when we introduce new
mm,
flavors and energy into the family.
yeah,
They like to see the kind of the new blood, how we're doing it. And you can slowly matriculate and kind of show people by demonstration new
yeah.
ways to do things. Like you don't have to say a word, just by how you are can kind of
Hmm.
shift the family legacy,
Yeah, yeah,
can shift the family tradition, just how you are, just
yeah.
how you function, how you choose to
Sure.
function.
Yep.
Isn't that interesting how we're more powerful than we give ourselves credit
Oh my
for, I think.
gosh, so, so powerful. The
Yeah.
educated artist just said I'm working on my boundaries these days, right? And I think during the
Yes.
holidays and around this time is one of the great ways to work on your boundaries, set and maintain your boundaries, figure out where it fits, where it doesn't fit, how it serves you, how it honors you, right? And so
Absolutely.
that's such a, I'm glad that they're doing that for sure.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about low isolation during the holidays and why it
Ooh.
happens and what people can do about that, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think that kind of going back to some things that we talked about earlier today, about sometimes we feel like it's only us that
Mm-hmm.
we are the only ones
Yeah.
experiencing sadness around the holidays,
Uh-huh.
grief around the holidays. We're the only ones that have dysfunctional families,
Mhm.
right? We are the only ones. And because of that, we don't want to be a burden on anyone else because it's this happy holiday
Mhm.
season. It's
Mhm.
joyous, it's a joyous occasion.
Yeah.
So I don't want to bring the energy down, right?
Yeah.
So instead of bringing it down, I'm just going to stay to myself.
Mhm.
I'm just going to just do me so that no one will feel sorry for me, so that no one, whatever. But I think that that lends itself to the isolation.
Yeah.
But here's the interesting thing about that is that I believe, this is what I believe. I believe that people are good overall.
Mhm. Mhm.
I
Mhm.
believe that people want to support us. I think that I believe in the good of people.
Yeah.
But what I also believe is that people cannot read our minds.
Mhm.
And so if we have a need, then it is contingent on us. It is our responsibility to use our words like we tell
Yeah.
our kids. Like, I have this toddler, use your words, baby girl.
Right. Right.
And this 11-year-old, use your words. It is our responsibility to use our words so that people can know and have the information that
Yeah.
they need in order to make decisions that either involve you or don't involve you. But you
Mhm.
won't know unless you ask,
Yeah.
right? So if you feel loneliness around the holidays, then ask someone, can I come have dinner with you?
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you.
Ask
I
for help.
love that you're saying that, right? Because
Yeah,
if you don't say anything, no one's gonna know, right? We cannot read
oh my goodness.
loneliness. Loneliness does not have a look, right? Just like
It
we
doesn't
talked about,
have a look.
depression doesn't have a look. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely have to vocalize the needs that you have. And again, It doesn't have to be if you choose to not spend the holidays with your family, that's perfectly
That's
okay.
fine. As long as
Right?
it works for you.
Exactly.
As long as it
Exactly.
works for you. And
But
how do
one
you know if it works
general.
for you? How do you know if it works for you? This is what I say. Listen to your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because at one time or another, your body will tell you, I feel so. Like you'll have this need. You'll just feel the need in your body. In the
Yeah.
middle of the night, when you're going off to sleep, you
Yeah.
might feel like, I need something more. I need comfort. I need, connection.
Yeah.
That means that your body is telling you to go connect with somebody,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Alicia just said, ask for help and be specific about what you need, right? That's so,
That
so important.
is so
Yeah.
important. Be
Yeah.
very specific and
That is,
don't be afraid. So, worst case scenario, they say no, and you back at square one. That's the
uh-huh.
worst thing that can happen, right? Is
Yeah.
that you
Go
you
through
put
your list, right? Come up
you
with a
go through
list
your
and
list.
work through it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. They say no, you ask somebody else, or
Hmm.
you just stay in there by yourself, right?
Yeah.
You go
Come up
on a
with a
trip, you go on a ride. But the worst thing that can happen is a no.
yeah.
And sometimes that no can be triggering as well,
Yeah. Yeah. A huge
depending
rejection.
on your upbringing.
Yeah.
But you gain so much more by taking it's a healthy risk.
Hmm.
It is a healthy risk
Yeah.
to just put yourself out there just a little bit,
Yeah.
to ask. And sometimes you develop safe people in your life, and sometimes you build that tribe for yourself, and then you find those members that you find that you can trust, and you ask those people,
Yeah.
maybe not a stranger on the street, but maybe someone that you started to build rapport with.
For sure. What I want to go back to what you were saying about how do you know when your body's speaking to you, right? So one of the meditations that I use for my clients, they talk about there are certain body parts that kind of like hold the stress and the all the stuff that's going on, right? So again, with your head, the crown of your head, right?
Mhm.
There's always that tension that you're
That's
maybe
so good. Mhm.
experiencing. Definitely like the neck, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Shoulders, chest, stomach,
Hmm.
right? There's
Hmm.
all
Yeah,
these like it's almost like signals in your
yeah,
body, right? That
absolutely.
will notify you when something is off or something is going on. So paying attention to just
Yeah,
like these areas definitely
yeah,
help you to
yeah.
identify and tap in and tune into what's going on
Absolutely.
with
I,
you.
I I always forget that some people don't do body scanning. Like they don't scan their body. So it
Yeah,
literally what you're talking about, Cynthia, is like literally scanning like
and
how you go when you go through a security screen at the
yeah,
airport and they use the what you call it, the wand,
the
and they
wand,
start
yeah,
up here and they're
yeah,
looking for alerts. They're looking for the wand to alert them to danger. And that's
exactly,
exactly what you're doing. You're scanning your body mentally to
yeah.
see where there's any tension. And if there's tension there, there's something behind it in terms of your emotions.
Yeah. No, I love that image, right? That the airport does it. You should be able to do it too at home.
Absolutely.
It's probably a little bit more gentle when you do it at home than when they do it.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I like that. Any other ways that you helped clients to notice like how their body's communicating to them around this time of year?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that people kind of take for granted is just slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are so busy and distracted from ourselves. That's one of the things that I loved about the pandemic, by the way,
Oh my
is
God.
because it forced us to slow down, right?
Yeah.
And to actually notice ourselves and to notice what's happening within
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
So literally just taking time throughout the day to actually check in with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Slow down, check in with yourself. And I use, with my clients, we use a number scale. Like we check in on a scale from 1 to 10.
Yeah.
And what we do is we start teaching them to notice what different emotions and numbers mean in their body.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how do you know when your number shifts from a 1 to a 5, for
Mm-hmm.
example?
Mm-hmm.
Like what does your body do differently? So
Yeah.
in order to do that, you have to slow down and notice it. You do the body scan,
Yeah.
right? You notice it. And then you say, okay, well, what were the things that happened around that? And
Mm-hmm.
what was I telling, what narratives was I buying into or
Yeah.
listening to about the things that were happening around me?
Yeah.
And how do I correct that? How do I make that more reality based for me?
Yeah. No, I like that. You can scale it over time
Hmm.
also, right? Which definitely helps you to figure out, okay, closer to the, I did something recently about how it's almost like you have to prepare for the anxiety that comes with a holiday, right? So if
Hmm.
you know you're going to be like at a high, like a 10, right? When you're about to,
Absolutely.
meet with family, start
Absolutely.
preparing, taking care of yourself and being mindful about how
Absolutely.
you're pouring into yourself,
Absolutely. I
right?
always say that if you are, I call it offense, like being on offense.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
when you're on offense, it's harder for the person to get the ball. Like I don't know sports, so I use these
That's
sports
pretty
analogies.
good.
I use these sports analogies, and I halfway don't know what I'm talking about. To be quite honest
That
with
makes
you,
sense.
but this is what I say. Okay,
Right. It
this is
works.
what I say. If you're on offense, it is harder for the opposing team to get the ball because you are prepared, you
Mm-hmm.
are stable. You could also kind of compare it to when you went to the ocean, you went to the beach this
Mm-hmm.
year, right?
Yeah.
When the waves are coming, you brace yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because you're bracing yourself, it's harder for the waves to knock you off your balance, to knock you off, right? It's the same way when you're going to family functions or anything, actually,
Yeah.
anything that is deregulating. You
Mm-hmm.
just want to make sure that you are doing things to pour into yourself so that you can be stable enough or
Grounded.
grounded enough
Yeah.
so that nothing can get you off your guard
Mm-hmm.
because you're going to respond in a way that's more balanced, that's
Yeah.
more healthy if
Yeah.
you are already grounded and stable.
For sure. And I
Mhm.
think, if whether you have a therapist or you don't, talking to your therapist and identifying an exit plan, right? Like have an exit
Absolutely.
strategy. That is so, so important. I feel like that's a way to thrive during the holidays. If you
Absolutely.
have an exit strategy, that's the best thing that you can do for yourself going into, even if like the situation is not dysfunctional, right?
Yeah.
But not everybody is an extrovert like us, right? Well, I don't know
I'm
if
an
you're an
introvert.
extrovert, but
I'm an introvert. You don't know it. I'm an
are you
introvert.
introverted really?
Yes, girl, yeah.
See, you think you know people.
Right.
But not
But
everybody is
absolutely
like all about, like large family gatherings or large gatherings generally, right? So
overwhelming.
you may just wanna. Who was it? Issa Rae recently, right? She was talking about how she doesn't want to get dressed up to go with people. People should stop asking her to do things. Right? Not everybody is like that, and so
Not everyone
having an
is.
exit strategy,
Yeah.
whether
And
you're
and
going to a family dysfunction or not, just be prepared.
be prepared. And that includes knowing, this is what I tell people, if you know I can take about 15 minutes of Auntie Susan. Then at 12 minutes, I'm starting to pack up.
Yeah,
I'm going to go pack my little second
yeah,
plate, get
yeah,
my aluminum foil, and I'm about to head out because I know at the 15th minute, we about to flip out and it's going to go downhill. So I'm going to leave at 14 minutes,
yeah.
right?
So
So I
this
know that.
is when I feel like the honoring your boundaries is so important, right? Because if you start feeling guilty, start feeling, whatever other feelings are bubbling up for you, and you
Mhm.
stay past the
Yeah,
15, right? And then you go overboard, you can now blame your auntie for
you
doing
can't.
that to you.
You can't, you
You
can't. But
cannot.
and it's so interesting because, this is something I always say too, right? My clients always know my little sayings that dead men don't feel.
Mm,
So it is also, although the holidays are very trying,
yeah.
it is also a really amazing opportunity to learn more about yourself
Mm-hmm.
and where you are.
Yeah.
Because to be honest with you, when you come into therapy and you're just sitting and talking to your therapist, you're not really doing the work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
The work doesn't happen until you leave. I'm virtual, so you click in on the Zoom.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's when the work begins.
Exactly.
So when you're around people and you feel triggered, that lets you know where you are in your healing journey and what you need to continue to work on. So it really is
Yeah.
an opportunity.
Huge
It is
one.
a great opportunity to try and see where you are and to work on some things, to try your skills out that you've been talking to your therapist for the last year about,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
And it's okay. Like you and your therapist can actually go through scenarios, right? Role play,
Absolutely.
role play scenarios that could potentially happen. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you can experience something without actually experiencing it.
Yeah.
by the role play. I use a lot of visualization. Like we
Mhm.
try to visualize, we try to think about like what are the things that could come up
Yeah.
and prepare for them, like you
Yeah.
said. What skills do I think I might be able to use in that moment that might be a
Mhm.
little bit more difficult for me?
Yeah.
Like I love, like this is like getting me so excited talking about this because this is what the thriving looks like to me, Cynthia. Thriving looks like using your skills. It looks
In
like
real time.
healing
Yeah.
in real time. It looks like taking all of the things that you've been learning and putting them to practice. Like
Mhm.
that excites me so much to see people be able to do that.
Yeah.
And that requires, and I keep going back to this healthy risk, but
Hmm.
it does require healthy risk taking
Yeah.
because that means you kind of, so in life, I believe that we have to find like this balance between our comfort zone and like the danger zone, so to
Yeah.
speak, right?
Yeah.
And it's like we want to be like right in the middle of like giving ourselves a little bit of stress so that
Hmm.
we grow, but not too much stress so
Yeah.
that our stress response doesn't kick up too much
Oh
and
my
send us
God.
back
Right.
into fight, you know? And
Yeah.
so holiday seasons can be an amazing time to give yourself a little bit of stress
Mhm.
so that you can use those skills
Mhm.
and that you can see how far you are and then take that back to your counseling session and
Yeah.
say, this is where I am, this is what happened, I need to work
Yeah.
on this part of it, oh, I rock this part of it, you know,
Mhm.
whatever, but you decompress with your therapist and that's how you
I love
grow.
that. It's like a
That's
growth
how you thrive.
opportunity
It's a
for
growth
real. Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah.
It's a growth opportunity to see where you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
This will get me excited. Yes.
No,
Yes.
but I think as therapists, right, we want to see our clients like thrive and grow and use the stuff we've been talking about, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes I think you can go to therapy for a really long time and not really until you're using your skills again in real time where you catch yourself and you're like, oh, I just did it.
I did. Can you
I mean, like
believe
that's like
it?
a therapist is like best dream come true for their clients,
Yeah.
right? Just to
Right.
be able to have that recognition of like, oh, I did it and it's actually working, right? And
It's
I'm
actually
engaging
worth
in
it.
it. Yeah,
I use my deep breathing in the moment and it
yeah,
actually worked.
works. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I stayed present because sometimes what happens is that when you go to the holiday and, you know, let's say you see an actual person that's triggering to you,
yeah, yeah,
'cause that happens a lot, right?
yeah,
You
yeah,
see an actual person that's triggering for you and you have this flashback or you have this moment where you remember all the horrible things.
yeah,
And it is a test for you then to practice your mindfulness, to
yeah,
get back into the moment, right?
yeah,
And to stay there. And so you being able to build those particular skills will help you to thrive in the holiday season.
yeah.
Just being able to stay in the present.
Let me ask you this because I think obviously some individuals have are going into very traumatic experiences, right? Because
Yeah,
they don't necessarily change, right? You have the family from your childhood, then you have the family in your adulthood, sort of thing. So if you choose to go into a situation,
if you
yeah, if you
choose,
choose to,
if you
right,
choose.
and it becomes triggering, is it okay for you to either ignore, not ignore, but not communicate with that person or leave if you become very triggered?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It is. So, first of all, this is what I always say you don't have to go.
yeah,
Number
good
one, you
choice.
do not have to participate. You can opt out of any family gathering.
Yeah,
If you know that saying, who gonna be there?
yeah, ask.
You can ask who gonna be there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
And you can choose not to attend. So
yeah,
that's number one. Safety first. Say if you're not at the place to try these new skills, if you're not there,
hmm.
don't
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 go.
compromise your safety.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
so we're talking about skills for people that have developed a level of safety where
hmm,
they feel comfortable, you know, kind of allowing themselves that therapeutic
yeah,
stress.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
But you can opt out at any time. You can opt out by just not going. You can opt out by going and saying, I have a time limit. You can opt out when I see this person. This is my exit
yeah,
strategy. You
yeah,
can get you a buddy
hmm,
like that can advocate for you. You can bring
yeah,
somebody with you, or you can identify someone that is already there that
yeah,
can be like your partner that can shift the conversation because sometimes you can't.
yeah,
You
Yeah.
know, somebody that can say, when I see this person come near you, let me go intervene.
Hmm.
So you can have those conversations ahead of time just to prepare the environment for you and create that safety that you might need.
Yeah. I think that's so important, right? Because, you know, a lot of times we neglect our needs in favor of the expectations, right? That sometimes, right? And I
Yeah,
think it's so important in moments like these when there's a choice, right, to make the choice that again doesn't place you in a situation that's going to be more
absolutely.
harmful,
Absolutely.
more dangerous to you emotionally, physically. And it's okay to kind of
It's
just
okay.
take care of you in this
Absolutely.
right during this time.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
it requires you being in tune. Like you have to, like there is no way around
yeah,
it.
yeah,
You have to be in tune with yourself,
mhm,
attuned with yourself
yeah,
in order to make these types of decisions, to
yeah.
know what your needs are.
Hmm. Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And again, if you go and you become triggered, it's okay to exit, right?
It's
It's
okay
okay. You
to,
don't need to explain to anybody, I'm out, I'm gone, I'm done,
yeah. And,
right?
and and
Because
you already know the questions that people we just look it's not our first rodeo, so we know the questions that are going to be asked. If those are, and you know, sometimes you have to be okay with being very direct with
yeah,
people
yeah,
about I don't want to talk about this.
yeah,
Or, you know, you can be, it's okay to say that. Like, you don't have to answer it if it's triggering for you,
yeah.
especially if you're going to have to answer it 10 times.
Right,
Why
right.
you're not married, when you're gonna have kids, you know, what happened to so and so. If you don't like those questions, say it.
Yeah,
Say it.
yeah,
Because again, people cannot read your mind.
yeah,
And sometimes we think that they know that's rude. No,
yeah,
people don't always know. And
yeah,
sometimes even if they know, they still test the waters.
yeah. Yeah.
So
I think
sometimes
about
you have to
like
be very
family
direct.
members who will talk about your weight, your hair, your clothes, all of that, right? Again, that's also honoring your boundaries
Yeah,
and saying, nope, that's off limit. No, we're not doing that. I'm out if you mention my hair one more time.
absolutely.
And people think
Absolutely.
those things are funny and just kind of jovial, but in
If
all
it,
honesty, if
it's
it
not.
impacts you, shut it down. It's okay
Shut
to
it
shut it down.
down. And the more you're consistent with doing that, then they learn
Yeah,
that it's not okay with you,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then you don't have to, like, sometimes this is another one of my sayings, is that honoring me does not mean that I dishonor you.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be dishonorable to have to enforce your boundary or to
Mm,
establish your boundary. You
yeah.
can be very respectful, kind, sweet,
Yeah.
gentle,
Yeah.
but still say your boundary and get your
Right.
point across.
Right.
So we think that, and I think that's one of the reasons that we tend not to express our boundaries because we don't want to be mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
But boundaries aren't mean. Boundaries are for protection. It's for
Yeah.
protecting me and protecting you
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
will go for you,
Yeah.
okay?
And that's where like assertive communication, right? And practice how you're gonna say this. Look in yourself in the mirror. Look at a picture of the
Absolutely.
person. There's so many different ways to prepare yourself for that
Absolutely.
battle that could come.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's
Absolutely.
talk about overextending ourselves, right? I feel like a lot of
Ooh,
us tend to do that. So how do we thrive during this holiday without overextending?
listen, no is a complete sentence.
Yes,
No
yes.
is a complete sentence. And you have to begin to, you know, some people deal with the idea of having to perform in
Mm,
order to gain acceptance, especially around family,
yeah,
right? Because people have always maybe congratulated you or they always noticed you, and it feels good to get
yeah.
that validation, right? But if your body is telling you you're overextended and you know that because maybe you sense some resentment coming up for you, you know, you sense that you're angry, you're avoiding someone.
Mm-hmm.
Those are ways that you know that number one, you don't really want to do
Yeah,
it, right? And so then you literally just say no. But in order to do that, you have to ask yourself, what need does my saying yes meet for me?
yeah, yeah,
Why am I saying yes? Why am I overextending myself?
yeah,
what does this feel for me? Because we as human beings are kind of selfish, and we only really do things if we get something out of it.
For sure.
And it doesn't all it and it that something out of it is not always tangible.
Yeah.
It can be the validation that I'm getting out of it. It makes me feel good. That can be rewarding.
Yeah.
And so if that is the reward but you're overextended, you have to ask yourself, is this need worth it for me? And then you do the work around that part of it, and then it will be easier for you to begin to say no.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah. And I'm on this whole tip about I guess learning yourself, right? And
Absolutely.
being okay with when you do make those choices that are not in favor of your needs, right? And sometimes that's going to happen, but you cannot then internalize and beat yourself up about it, right? It's almost like you just have to kind of like take the punches that comes with making that choice, right?
Yeah,
and not going
yeah.
into like resentments and anger, because all of that festers and it's also not healthy. Right, you learn from it and you say to yourself, okay, well, next time I really do need to listen to myself, right? Or I need to, it's okay if I say no.
Yeah.
Because I don't need that validation that bad.
Because I don't need that validation that bad. And sometimes you have to think about, like, families are systems. And they operate in, think about your car system. Your car is a system and it operates in a certain way because each part of the system works together to make it work, right? So sometimes our families function the way that they do, it always has, because it's easier for each part. They've all learned their part, right? And so maybe everyone has always relied on you because of a need that was present earlier on that's no longer there. But you still have a difficult time releasing that particular role. So you have to always look back, okay, how does my role affect the system? And if I stop doing this, how does the other parts of the system learn to function without me being this way? And if you look at families as systems, you can kind of really uncover a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff, and you can really heal yourself and break away from things that you probably don't want to do in the first place.
Yeah. And I think that is so such a great reminder, right? That you don't have to continue to play that part.
You don't.
You do not have to.
Yeah. Nope. But the other parts of the system, they're going to fight you on it because
it's not working
this is not working for me anymore. Like, when you say no to the way that the system has operated, the other parts of the system now have to adapt.
Exactly.
They have to do something different. And that's why they fight you so much. And so you have to, number one, give them grace. And I know that's hard. Give them grace and give them time to adapt.
Yeah.
Right? But you have to also be consistent in understanding that the way that the system developed.
Yeah.
Okay? And understanding that now I am trying to break a system, not a particular person, but a system, a way of being.
Yeah.
And so I now have to be very, very consistent in doing the opposite of what I've always been doing so that the system can learn how to function in a more healthy way.
Right. And that in itself, that can be like years and years and years, right?
Years. It can be years. And why we tend to not engage that work is because it takes so long, and because the fight can sometimes be so hard. It can be so hard. And so we tend to say, this is not even worth it anymore. Right? It's not worth it. So then we go back to doing things the way that we've always done. And then the system never changes because we went back to it. But if you would have just stayed consistent, and if you would have managed the parts of you that get triggered as the system is changing, then the system will change. It has to. When one part of the system changes, the entire system has to change in order to accommodate that change. But you got to be consistent with it.
Yeah. No, I love that you're saying that. And I think it's that this conversation in itself, I feel like, could be a whole hour, right? Because we do, and I think this is where boundaries becomes really important. This is where, honoring what's important to you. Because sometimes again, if you're not consistent, that's the word that kind of came back to
Mhm.
me, right? The consistency of doing something over and over and over and over and over again. That's how you create change over
That's
time.
how you create change.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is how you create change. That is how you create change because you are shaping other people's expectations now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so it's not your consistency is not just for you,
Mhm.
it is for other people as well.
Yeah.
Because they're learning to adapt. They're
Mhm.
learning, okay, now that this system has changed, now what do I do
Yeah.
in order to adapt to this system change?
Yeah.
Right? And so they're learning their own process. But guess what? They will figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
You have
Eventually.
you have to eventually
Mm-hmm.
you have to trust that they will figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you have to be consistent in order to create, we talked about therapeutic stress. I love therapeutic stress. In order for them to have the therapeutic stress that they need to change, you got to stay consistent. So
Yeah.
that's the beautiful part about boundaries. Like, no, we can't control people, but we can create an environment that creates the dissonance that they need
Yeah.
and that creates the stress that they need that influences their
Mm-hmm.
change, their choice. We
Yeah.
can't control it, but we can contribute to it. We can influence. And so it is all about
Mm-hmm.
using your influence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes that is not combative, that is not aggressive. That is just you being you being consistent in who you are,
Yeah.
you being consistent in what decisions you've made for your life, and just letting it be what it is.
Yeah.
Unapologetically,
Yeah.
literally unapologetically, because the system will shift if you shift.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what better time to start than the holidays?
What better time than the
What better
holiday?
time to start?
But you don't have to wait. Like Thanksgiving is what, like 2 weeks away?
Literally, I didn't realize. Yeah, yeah, around the
You don't
corner.
have to wait. You don't have to wait two
Yeah.
weeks.
You do not. That is true.
You can start
You can
now.
start today.
You can
Right?
start today. You can start today.
I love
Shifting
that.
that system. You don't
Mhm.
have to wait.
Yeah,
You can start today
yeah.
by
And I forget
deciding.
you do say that all the time
I
in your life.
do,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I mean
yeah.
it. Like whatever. Like you can start. Like this
This
moment.
moment right
If
here.
it's not working, make a different decision.
This second. Yeah,
Make a
yeah.
different decision and move in the direction that you want to move in.
Because you
That
know
it's
what?
all
In
about
two
that.
weeks' time, that is a lot of progress, right? That's a lot of consistency that you've built up, tolerance that you've built
Absolutely.
up. Yeah.
And they already know what to expect. Taisha
I
coming with that. She gonna bring it, y'all. She bringing it.
right.
They know what to expect
Yeah.
because you're consistently being and reinforcing the boundary that you set, not with the hope that they'll change,
Yeah.
just with the hope that you are honoring yourself.
Yeah.
You are honoring yourself, and in honoring yourself, you're using your influence. Boom.
Exactly.
Yes,
So someone just said Thanksgiving can be a great practice. It can be practice for Christmas. Exactly. You build
absolutely,
on it. You build on it for sure.
absolutely,
Thanks,
absolutely.
Sacred Spirits, Leah. She's my girl. She's always on here. I love it.
All right,
So I feel like we may need to do a part two
come
because I have
on with
other
the
things
part
that I wanted to
two.
get into: financial pressure, fatigue. Like there's so many, things that I feel like comes up during the holidays. So we definitely
Yeah,
have to, if your time allows, right? We can
yeah,
definitely talk offline and try to figure that out. But I
yeah,
would love to have it. So I have a few questions for you
yes.
about. So, what is your favorite holiday and why?
My favorite holiday. Hmm. So I like New Year's. I like New
Mm-hmm.
Year's Eve, New Year's Day. I am a diehard resolutioner. Like I have been creating resolutions since I was a little kid, but I follow through, right? And so I like the idea of just newness. Like I like fall. Like I like fall for that reason. I like spring for that reason. Newness, fresh starts, like hope. Like I love all of that. So New Year's, I would say New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, my favorite
I like
holiday.
that. I like
Mhm.
that. And then what are some of your favorite? It doesn't have to be like holiday traditions, but just like the season transitions,
Yeah.
traditions. Like, what are some of the things that you love?
So listen, and this is actually a holiday memory. So my daddy, he would we had a dysfunctional family, but my daddy would. This is very very dysfunctional. So my daddy would always go into. It was sweet. He would always go into the woods to chop down a tree for our family,
Oh
right, with his
wow!
friends. right? Which was really cool. So he would
Yeah.
always go with the tree. He would bring the tree back, and the tree would always be too tall for the house, right? It would always be too tall for the house. And so, and it was like, it would always be like lopsided. It wouldn't be like a Christmas tree. It was like a tree that we got from the woods that wasn't like a Christmas tree. But he was so proud. And so my mom would like make us be all happy, like all excited and like decorate the tree. We were like, "Why that tree ugly?" So like my dad passed away like maybe 6 years ago, and so but I still remember those moments when he would get that tree. We had to act like the tree was pretty, like amazing. When it was ugly, we would decorate it and make a big deal about it. So that's my favorite memory.
I love that.
Yeah,
You can tell that it was from the heart, right? He
yeah,
created
yeah,
that from the heart.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Any other last minute kind of general how people can thrive during the upcoming holidays?
Yeah. So I know that we talked some about kind of expecting, like kind of visualizing and expecting what's going to happen. Sometimes you have to be mindful because that can also create anxiety for you
Mm-hmm.
because we call it fortune telling or foreseeing, cognitive distortions, right? And so kind of just make sure, like, yes, mentally prepare yourself, but if you experience anxiety, make sure that you haven't gone too far in doing that
Mm-hmm.
in terms of predicting the future, because that can make you act in certain ways that can kind of be like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I talk a lot about influence and about things that you choose to do because we're more powerful than we could ever imagine in changing a particular situation.
Yeah.
So you can choose to respond differently to like that dysfunctional aunt, auntie, whoever.
Mm-hmm.
And by you, because your auntie, uncle, whoever that person is, has learned the script too.
Yeah.
So I know that, we don't like each other. You're going to say this, I'm going to say this in response to you, and then this is how it's going to be. Like, that's what I'm expecting because I visualize it and I just know, right?
Yeah.
And so every time I see you, I'm already on 10 because I already know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens if you change that for yourself? What if instead of just expecting the worst and kind of leaning into that, what if you leaned into the opposite? What
Yeah.
if you flipped it? What if you responded differently to that auntie, that uncle, that whoever,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then they would have to respond differently.
Yeah.
And now we both responded differently.
Like a domino effect. Yeah.
Like a domino effect. You see that? So I believe that is helpful in addition to the staying in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, we can't change the past. We had some horrible things in the past, have horrible moments in the past, but can we enjoy this game of spades right now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, can I stay in the moment long enough to just enjoy your presence right now?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Right? Without the emotional entanglement. And I don't understand that this is difficult. Just give it a try and see what happens. I just tell people, just experiment with new things.
Yeah.
Just experiment with it. Just to let me just see how this person has grown.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let me just discover a new part of this person.
Be curious, right?
Be curious about this person, right? Let me try to understand a different part of this person that I've already just kind of internalized as this is who this person is.
Yeah.
What can I learn about this person, even from their upbringing? Can I see it from their perspective, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
I think that having that kind of fresh outlook or narrative about people and about situations and even families. Like some people just hate their family. Like my family is that they already have like that mindset of my family is this. And so then they go into it with that energy. And so sometimes if we shift that for ourselves, then we get to have a different experience because we bring a different energy to the whole room that people respond to.
Yeah, you start looking for different things, right? Because the other way is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's the same family every year.
Same family every year, but it doesn't have to be. You can experience different parts of your family, right?
Yeah.
And then if you notice that maybe, if you were to be honest, maybe you get something out of kind of holding on to the judgment or holding on to the resentment or whatever you have built up, maybe assessing that for yourself and seeing if it's worth it for you to let some of it go and how that might look.
Yeah.
Right? Because sometimes if you hold on to it, maybe it validates you, in your position in some kind of way. I don't know.
Whew.
Maybe it's something to explore. I
Mhm.
don't know. I don't know you, right?
Yeah.
But maybe
Yeah.
it's something to look at, right? Because we hold on to things for a reason.
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself, why am I choosing not to let this go?
Mhm.
What am
Mhm.
I getting out of not letting this go?
Yeah.
What am I getting? Is it reinforcing something for me? And
Yeah.
doing that really, really honest work with yourself can sometimes free you enough
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
you can then go and thrive in your
Yeah.
holiday season with your family, even if they dysfunctional selves.
Ooh. Yeah. You have to slow down though in order to do that kind of
That's so
introspection, right? You
You
have
gotta
to
slow
slow
up. And
down. Yeah.
sometimes you need someone to be there with you to kind of hold that space with you
Yeah.
to kind of just talk it through.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're so like deep into it that it's difficult to see things from a really neutral or unbiased perspective. And so
Yeah.
you need a neutral third party, somebody that's not gonna egg you on,
Mhm.
that's not gonna validate your foolishness. Because you know
Right.
we got family like that too that's gonna like, yeah, girl, they this and
Mhm.
not that,
Yeah.
but somebody that can really be honest with you and say, maybe this is a different way of looking at this same situation,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know? So
Yeah.
getting different perspectives can sometimes be very, very helpful in
Yeah.
helping you to navigate and sort through what's what.
Yeah. Can I tell you something? I am going to show my gratitude to you because I feel like I've been on IG for a while, and it was earlier this year that I started doing these lives, right? And
I'm so proud of you.
I have to tell you, you sent me a text message, like a DM. My gosh, that's what they call it.
Yep.
And just with these encouraging words, and I have to tell you, you don't know me from anywhere, except
I
for
really don't.
but that
Just on Instagram.
sisterhood, kind of just compassion, reaching out was just so touching. And
Yeah.
Ty, you are a beautiful person inside and out. I just want you to know that.
I'm so proud of you,
I am so
girl.
grateful for your presence on IG and in your world. I feel like you're
Yeah.
doing such amazing work in your
Thank you.
community, and I'm always in awe of like the things that you're doing.
Thank you. And
Uh,
I'm very proud of you. You have really stepped all the way
thank
out.
you.
You have stepped all the way. I'm like, you go, girl.
Thank
I'm like
you.
always here. Like every time I can come on when you're on, I try to come on and support
I
because I
know.
really, I
I know.
see your progress. I
Yeah.
see you kind of like just saying, I'm going to do this. Like I
I
see it. I love it. I am so here for it. So congratulations on your
Thank
shift.
you. Thank you. And I'm so
Absolutely.
glad. I waited like a year to do this with you. So I'm so
Yeah.
excited that we
Yeah.
finally got
Good
to
for
do
you.
this. But thank you
Yeah.
for all you do. You're amazing. And so what do you your book is coming out. Do you can people just go on your page and order it? We can talk about it when
Yeah.
it comes out, whatever you want to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, it's on
What?
pre-order now. And so they will ship like around Black Friday. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. That's
Yeah.
around the corner.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
I'm really excited about it. Yeah, I'm really excited
Yeah.
about it.
Well,
Yeah.
put it
So
on your story and I'll spread it on mine and kind of just keep it going. But
sure.
yeah,
Thank
I'm
I
excited to see
appreciate
what you
that.
do in 2023 as well.
We gonna see, girl. We
I
gonna
love
see.
it.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you. Say
No problem.
hello to the baby for me.
Will do. All right.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. All
Bye.
right.
Thank you. Bye,
All right.
everybody. Thanks for coming on
Good
tonight.
night. Have a happy
Bye. I
Thanksgiving.
know. Thrive this holiday, people.
Survive this holiday.
Thrive.
All
Yeah.
right. Bye-bye.
Bye.